This first trailer is not a movie trailer, it is a video game trailer. However, this is one of the best, most cinematic video games beyond a straight-up full-motion video game that I've ever played. It's a remaster or remake, or not a remake, I guess it's a remaster is the best way, because I don't think they're fully remaking it. But I wanted to watch this little short trailer that just came out today of one of my all-time favorite video game series. One of the most perfect trilogies ever made. We're not going to talk about the fourth one. And I will definitely be playing this version of it when it comes out on Retro Wednesday. Well, I'll be playing it on my Retro Wednesday live stream when it comes out I think it's coming in March. I could be totally wrong on that. I don't have all the information in front of me, but I did want to kind of react to this trailer and just kind of give my thoughts, because like I said, this is one of my favorites ever. And of course, I am talking about Mass Effect. If you like good sci-fi stories, check out Mass Effect. It's probably one of the most, this and something like BioWare, they made Mass Effect, BioShock, are probably two of the video game movie or video game stories that I would like to see made into movies properly by the right people, more than any other properties. But let's check this out. This is a remake of the first three games. Coming out is one called the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It's just a short trailer. It's a space opera. It's just so good. It's almost like when we play it when I do it in a couple of months when it comes out on the Retro Wednesday live stream. You guys will see. Those of you that aren't familiar with it, you'll see it's just awesome. It's kind of like playing a movie. Mass Effect Legendary Edition trailer. Here we go. The Normandy. That's from Mass Effect 2. I think that's from part 3. Could be any of them. It looks better. Oh, yeah. The story in this is so good. There's a lot of stuff from part 3. I want to see some part 1 stuff. There's a whole lot of part 3 stuff. Part 1's the one that used the biggest upgrade. That's part 2. Oh, cool. I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of getting chills. I don't do that often.
You were born to do this.
Oh, that's the end. Right there. That was one of the endings. I don't know, if you haven't played Mass Effect, you're probably like, okay, that was fine. What about it? That's fucking awesome, though. If you're a Mass Effect fan, that's badass. I'm super hyped for that. I'm really excited. I mean, I've played through these games. I know this remake is going to be, not remake, remaster, is just going to be the same. I've played these stories. I know what happens. I know the secrets. I know all that stuff. But I'm really hyped to play it again because I haven't played them in so long, like all the way through. And I'm really looking forward to playing through again. But a little bit for those of you that have played it, or first of all, for those of you that haven't played any of the Mass Effect games, it's a space opera. It's one of the most detailed, well-told sci-fi stories ever definitely in video games. But really it goes beyond that. I mean, I've spoken before about how video game stories, a good video game or a great video game story might, if you just took it and translated it beat for beat, typically will make a decent or an okay movie. Because I think that we hold video game stories to a different standard than movie stories. And that's just the truth. And I love video games. And I think that video game stories can be adapted to great movies. But video games have an interactive piece to them, very important interactive piece to them that gets you very much invested, more invested in the character and story than a movie. A movie's very passive. So the storytelling in a movie has to be really good and really on point to grab you the same way that a video game can. A video game can get away with having great gameplay and just some really good characters, but if you just took just those story beats and put them in movie form, it wouldn't always work. You'd have to add a little something else. That doesn't mean change it. I think that's where a lot of people fuck up. But the Mass Effect is some of the best storytelling that I've seen in video games. It's just fantastic storytelling, branching storylines. One of the really cool things it did was it was one of the first games, at least mainstream games for sure, and I think it may still be. I've noted this before, but where your progress moves from game to game to game. Because you play the same character and you end up having the same overarching. Each game has its own goal and antagonist, but there is an overarching story that you're going towards from the beginning of part 1 all the way to part 3. And your progress, every little thing you do, some of the big things you do, the big decisions you make, they carry over to the second game and to the third one. And decisions you made in the first game will affect things that happen in the third game. And even like conversations you have, there are characters in the first game you'll have a conversation with, and it's supposed to take place over the course of some years. Years later, in the third game, you'll come and you'll run across someone. You might not even remember them, like in real life. You won't remember this character, and they'll reference something you said to them in the first game, and you're like, holy shit, yeah, I do remember talking to that person. It may have been a little different when I originally played this because, there were years between the games as I played them. But you talk to so many people in the game, I could see you forgetting someone you talked to. But it was just, they gave it a very personal touch because you formed relationships in this game. And that was a big part. Like part 2, that's a huge part of part 2 is forming relationships with the other characters, like gaining their alliance and stuff like that. And it does it in a very natural way. It's all about the story. It's got some good gameplay as well, but these games are all about the story. And the story is so damn good. And it's like the third one catches a lot of shit for some stuff it did at the end, but it is so rousing. It is so fucking like hype. You're just like, fuck yeah. And it is one of the most. It's like when you go see the end of that epic movie franchise, your Lord of the Rings, your Star Wars, things like that you've just been waiting for years and years and years. That's what the third Mass Effect was like. Is like jumping into that. It felt like one of those kinds of experiences. It was just great. I'm really happy to see that coming back. All the stuff, everything that was ever added to the game, DLC, all that stuff has been added in. For those of you that have played Mass Effect and enjoyed it. Once again, I don't have all the information in front of me, but from what I understand, we've known about this thing coming up for a while, but we didn't know whether it was going to include, was it going to include, what was I going to say? Sorry. We didn't know if they were going to actually just be like up-resing the graphics or if they were going to actually like remaster the graphics like they did with like Resident Evil and some of the other remasters they've been doing over the past few years. We just didn't know. We didn't know what BioWare was going to be doing with this thing. And apparently it's a little bit of both. It's not a full-on remake, but it's not just a simple up-res. Everything has been one of the most important things they did. They made everything prettier, and they did tweak some things, but probably the biggest differences are going to come in the first game, because the first game is different from the other two. Part 2 and 3 are very much they're a lot alike in how they're made. They have they have a lot of the same sensibilities, like the item management, the way the game is played, the way it looks, it all goes along. They all look the same, but the first one is different in a lot of ways. And they apparently took all that stuff from the second 2 games, part 2 and 3, and they've now updated part 1 to be like that with the same like engine and the item management and just a lot of the things that people not complained about, but comparably speaking to like the second one and the third one, that stuff is in the first one now. The first one is it'll be a seamless experience across all 3 now apparently. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited. I mean, if nothing else, they did that. It was already a good looking game. I mean, it came out on the 360, so, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was a good looking game. I mean, and if they updated the first one to this and they fixed a couple little things throughout the years, then I'm excited enough for that. That's good enough for me. I'm cool with that. It's got all the stuff in it, and it's going to be like in 4K and all that. I'm good. I'm game. This game is so fucking good. You didn't have to really update much. I appreciate them like making everything kind of streamlined, like a unified experience across all 3. So it's almost like you're just playing one big ass game now instead of 3 different games. That's cool. But beyond that, I'm good, man. These games are so fucking good. I'll go back and I've got the originals. I'll go back and play those and be totally happy. So the fact that they're giving me more, I'm happy with whatever they give me. The only thing that they've taken out of the games is apparently the third one's multiplayer, which I don't think anybody's really upset about that. That was tacked on anyway. So everything is here, everything. And I'm really excited about it. Definitely going to be playing it here. This looks really cool. It is kind of, you know, snippets. So you're not getting... The trailer's not showing like a ton. I can tell because it's not like such an upgrade. I could tell it is upgraded because I watched my wife play the Mass Effect trilogy not that long ago. So I can tell, you know, yeah, it is upgraded. I see upgraded visuals, but it's not upgraded to the point to where like Resident Evil 2 was compared to where it started. But I can definitely see that it does look better. It's going to be a good looking game. But even if it looked exactly like it did back in the day, this game, the story and the gameplay, this game is just one of the best. This is one of the best fucking trilogies ever made and absolutely deserves to be played. If you've never played it, get on that shit. You should absolutely get on it. Yeah, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too. And as soon as it comes out, I will definitely be playing it here on the channel on Retro Wednesday. I might even go as far as to stream every single night for a week if I think I can make it through all 3 games in one single week. Like hardcore, like 5 hours a night, maybe more. I don't know. That might be something to look into. I love this fucking series, but there it is. Mass Effect Legendary Edition.